Book 2 presents The Tree of Life by Catherine Lucille Moore, narrated by Josh Greenwood. Above the crumbling ruins of Elar, patrol ships cut through the sky like vultures circling a corpse. Northwest Smith watched them from the shadow of a shattered temple, his steel-gray eyes narrowed. All day, they'd hunted him across these ancient Martian wastes. Soon he knew, thirst would claw at his throat and hunger would twist his gut. No food or water remained in these forgotten stones, and time ran out. He'd have to signal those ships, trade his freedom for survival, unless he found another way. Huddled beneath the temple's arch, he cursed the patrol gunner whose blast had clipped his ship at the edge of Ilar's decay. Then a memory flickered. Ancient Martian temples often had wells in their outer courts, built for travelers long gone. The water would be dust now, a million years dry, but with nothing else to do. Smith rose from the rubble of the temple's dome and picked his way through shadowed halls toward the courtyard. He stopped at the edge, peering out. Sunlight baked the cracked pavement, and there it stood. An ornate well, impossibly intact. Its rim gleamed with faded mosaics, their meaning lost to time, and above it, a bronze grill fanned out, etched with the familiar Tree of Life pattern found across the three worlds. Smith stared, baffled by its preservation amid the ruin, its shadow tracing delicate lines on the ground as it must have when Mars still bloomed green. He imagined travelers pausing here under a noonday sun, stepping through grand gates. But there were no gates. His eyes swept the courtyard walls, finding no trace of an entrance save the broken doorway where he stood. Odd. This must have been a sealed court, the well reserved for priests. Or perhaps Ilar's legendary priest-king, a sorcerer who'd ruled with iron and magic. This well, too grand for mere pilgrims, might have been his alone. A plane's shadow sliced across the sunlit stone. Smith ducked back as the ship buzzed low, its hum vibrating through the ruins. Crouching against a fallen wall, he waited for it to pass. Then he heard it, a faint, choking sound like a woman sobbing. It jolted him, cutting through the silence. The temple's gloom pulsed with it, alive and mournful. Was it hunger playing tricks, or some ancient grief haunting these halls? Stories of Mars' older ruins whispered of such things. His hand brushed his force gun as he crept toward the sound, nerves prickling. In the dimness, a flicker of white caught his eye, luminous, shifting. He edged closer, steps silent, squinting to make it out. A woman, or something like one, huddled against a collapsed wall, her form veiled by a cascade of dark hair. She was strange, her outline blurry, a shimmering smear of light except for the sobs that anchored her to reality. Before he could decide what to do, she sensed him. The crying stopped. She lifted her head, and two eyes, milky, moonstone bright, locked onto his with a force that pinned him in place. They glowed, almost blind, yet piercing, and in that grip, a voice rang clear in his mind, bypassing her gibberish tongue. "I'm lost. I'm lost." Tears welled in those eyes, breaking the spell. She wailed again, words meaningless to his ears, her face as indistinct as her body. Only those eyes cut through the haze. Warily, he stepped back, unease coiling in his chest. She surged to her feet, grabbing his shoulders with desperate hands. Her gaze seized him again, and her thoughts flooded his brain. "Please, take me back. I'm so frightened I can't find my way, please." He blinked, piecing it together. Her eyes, hypnotic, powerful, carried her meaning without words. But the plea didn't match the strength behind it. A scared girl's voice from a mind too forceful, too calculated. Suspicion tightened his jaw. "Please," her thoughts pressed. "Help me. Guide me back." "Back where?" he asked aloud. "The tree," her mind cried, sharp and urgent. "The tree of life. Take me back to its shadow." The well's grill flashed in his memory, the only tree he'd seen here. Could that be it? Curiosity tugged at him. Maybe she'd come from some hidden depths beneath it, her glowing skin and sightless eyes hinting at a subterranean world, or something stranger. Either way, leading her there seemed harmless enough, and he wanted answers. "Come on," he said, easing her hands off him. "I'll take you to the well." She exhaled, relieved, muttering thanks in her alien tongue. He took her cool, solid hand, tangible despite her blurred form, and guided her toward the courtyard door. Her eyes, burning and blind, were all he could truly see. She stumbled beside him over the temple's rough floor, breathless with anticipation. At the door he paused, scanning the sky. The patrol ships had moved off, hovering over Ilar's north end. Safe enough. He led her into the glaring sunlight. She couldn't see the well, but at 20 paces, she yanked his hand, pulling him the final steps. The grille's shadow stretched across the ground, intricate and dark. She gasped, a sound of pure joy, then dropped his hand and darted forward, plunging into the shadow's heart. And then, she was gone. The pattern rippled over her like a cloak, shifted sideways, and swallowed her whole. Smith gaped at the empty spot. A plane's roar snapped him back. Its shadow swooped low, and he realized he stood exposed. No time to think. Only one insane option remained. He leaped into the shadow after her. The grille's lines wrapped around him, and the world slid sideways. No void, no blackout, just a seamless shift. He landed in a gray, twilight haze, where trees and flower-dotted grass blurred like a tapestry. The air felt thick, unreal. Ahead, she glowed, a beacon of white flame in the gloom, waiting, certain he'd follow. He smirked despite himself. Curiosity alone would have dragged him here, even without the ships. She was vivid now, breathtakingly so, bare except for her sweeping hair, a dark, purple-tinged mantle brushing her ankles. Her moonstone eyes shone, no longer blind, and a smile curved her lips. She reached out. "It's my turn to lead you," her mind whispered, clear through her gibberish voice. His hand found hers, drawn by those eyes. She pulled him forward over the soft, starry grass. He didn't ask where they headed. Lost in the dreamlike stillness, words felt pointless. The place defied logic. Starless dark above, twilight below, everything smudged into a woven haze. She moved like a figure from a painting, unreal yet magnetic. Soon he noticed flickers in the bushes, quick, darting shapes with watchful eyes. Small, dark figures slipped through the foliage, whispering faintly. One paused in the open, a tiny man, dusky-skinned, with huge, mournful eyes. He vanished before Smith could focus. More followed, rustling, their calls soft and warning-laden. A dream, he told himself, a Botticelli nightmare of flowers and shadows. Finally, he broke the silence. "Where are we going?" Her eyes met his. "To Thag. Thag desires you." "What's Thag?" She launched into a rhythmic chant, her voice a practiced lilt. Long ago, King Ilar, namesake of the city, ruled with magic. His power wasn't enough, so he summoned Thag from the dark, striking a deal. Thag gave him boundless might. Ilar gave Thag this land, slaves to fill it, and a priestess to serve him. I'm that priestess, last of my line. The tree folk are his lesser thralls. I whisper this so they don't hear. Thag is their world, their beginning and end, but I tell you true. What does Thag want with me? It's not for his servants to ask. Then what happens to the men Thag desires? Ask Thag yourself. She looked away, severing their mental link. Smith slowed, unease growing. This wasn't a lost girl. She'd tricked him here. Her power dwarfed her feigned fear, and those tree folk whispers carried dread. The twilight turned sinister. He stopped, pulling free. I'm not going. She whirled, words spilling in a frantic rush, but he avoided her eyes, turning back the way they'd come. Her voice rose, sharp with warning, then fell to a mocking laugh that lingered in his mind. He glanced back once. She'd vanished, the glade empty. Silence pressed in, thick and oppressive. The tree folk were gone too. He trudged on, boots crushing pale flowers, questioning his sanity. How long he walked, he couldn't say, but the well's shadow never reappeared. No shadows existed here, just gray flatness stretching endlessly. Was there an exit? He kept moving, sensing the land itself holding its breath. A void loomed ahead, grass fading into a streaked, curving wall of nothing. Not emptiness, but solid absence, arching up like a bubble's edge. This was Ilar's warped space, trapping this realm. No escape there. He veered along the tree line, hope fading. Rustling grew behind him, tree folk, back again, flitting closer. Their whispers sharpened, familiar syllables teasing his memory. He stayed still, letting them approach. A small group trailed him, then ringed him in a dark hollow dotted with woven huts. Their big eyes gleamed with fear and curiosity. They chattered. Thag, danger, beware. Words he knew from somewhere ancient. The dryland tongue, Mars' oldest, roughest speech, warped by time. He dredged up a halting phrase, whispering, I don't understand, speak slower. They hushed each other, then a few recited in unison, Thag, the terrible, the mighty, the inevitable, beware of Thag. He almost grinned, so obvious a warning, yet their courage in giving it stirred him. What is Thag? He asked. Thag, the beginning and end, the heart of all. When he breathes, the world shakes, all is his, beware. What's the danger? Thag hungers, we feed him, but sometimes he craves more. His priestess lures it in, beware. She brought me for food? A soft, collective yes. Then why let me go?
No escape from Thag. He calls, you come, he hungers, he takes, beware. Smith weighed their words. They believed it. Her laughter confirmed it. Thag's power ruled here. He decided, strike first or be prey. Which way to Thag? They pointed, then wailed as he turned, clutching at him. No, you don't know Thag. Stay. But he shook them off, their dirge-like cries fading as he climbed out. A few followed, then peeled away, leaving him alone in the crushing quiet. He moved faster, gun loose at his hip, descending into a wider hollow. Trees thinned, revealing a clearing, and there, stark and real, stood the tree of life. Its spiral trunk gleamed, leafless, with 12 curling branches tipped by blood-red blooms. It pulsed with menace, a living terror he couldn't name. His instincts screamed to flee, but he forced himself to look, to understand. It was Thag. No breeze stirred it, yet it writhed, flowers flaring like venomous eyes. Then she appeared, radiant, pacing toward it. The branches bent to her, embracing her in a lover's grip. A bloom kissed her lips, and she trembled with it. Smith's horror broke loose. He ran, blind, crashing through trees until he collapsed, sanity fraying. A piercing hum woke him, sweet, unbearable, pulling him back. He staggered toward it, joined by tree folk, all drawn like moths. The tree loomed, its song now a roar of power. She guided victims to its grasp. They vanished in shrieks, absorbed impossibly fast. Then it reached for him. In that final instant, he saw. The tree was Thag's shadow, masking a vast hovering nightmare, tentacled, ravenous, ancient. As its branches closed, a buried spark of defiance flared. His gun flashed free, blasting the trunk. It shuddered then, cataclysm. Sound and space shattered, hurling him into darkness. He woke under Mars' moon, amid Ilar's powdered ruins. Thag's warped world had collapsed, spitting him back unharmed. The patrol still hunted, but he'd survived. Dust swirled as he limped toward shelter, the nightmare behind him. Thank you for listening.